My favorite thing that could possibly happen when I go to film a location is when I learn of others in the process. While filming the amazing Everett movie theater, I learned of a nearby abandoned building that once helped shape the town of Everett. I couldn't have ever imagined just how incredible this place was going to be, which makes it all the better. I go into every explore rationally knowing that there is a reasonable chance that the location might be a complete flop. When I find a place like this, and especially what I saw inside, well, just watch and see for yourself. But, as always, let's get into the history. Everett's original name was Bloody Run, after a creek which was the site of a battle between settlers and Native Americans. The town was renamed in honor of Massachusetts politician and orator Edward Everett. Over 200 years ago, the sun pierced through the thick forest on a small Indian village and trading post known as Bloody Run, which was located on a wagon road headed to Fort DeQuince in south-central Pennsylvania. In 1787, Michael Barndollar purchased the land in this area and laid out a town which was originally called Waynesburg. This name was never widely used, and this small village was incorporated as a borough in November of 1860 to be known as Bloody Run. While this name carries with it many interesting stories and much history, the name was changed in February 1873 to Everett. Traditionally, much industry has existed in the borough of Everett. The largest contributing resource associated with industry is the Everett Hardwood Company on East 3rd Street. This 4-story banked concrete building constructed in 1915 was originally the cottage planing mill. It is 5 bays wide and 10 bays deep. There are several adjacent outbuildings that include a drying kiln and lumber storage sheds. The Huntington and Broad Top Mountain Railroad had a rail siding next to these sheds. And we are going to film it today in its entirety. So now that we know a little bit about the place, let's go check it out. The funny thing about this particular location is that I already had it pinned on my map as a place of interest, but I had no idea what it was. It wasn't until the nice people that own the Everett movie theater told me about a building that I may be interested in a few blocks away. Of course, after scouting this location, I realized that it was on my list anyway. It sure is a good thing that I spoke with the current owner himself, because there is only one known picture of this place that I can find on Google, and not much on its history that I myself could dig up. This is another case of the video not doing the place justice as far as size goes. It is giant, and there were many more buildings on site in the past that are no longer here. Like the movie theater, this place is privately owned and the roof has been upkept. The future is unknown for this building, but there have been a few bids to tear it down. Well, as you know, I try to capture these places before that happens. What surprised me most about this building was not only its large size, but the fact that it was so structurally sound. I mean, there was no rot, there was, there was no leakage, the roof was upkept, so it really kept this place in a very, very healthy state. And you'll see what I mean when we get inside. But, I can't express how tiny I feel on the outside of this. It is very, very large, and as long as I took to do this drone footage and the outside shots, it definitely built up. I couldn't wait to get in there, and I'm sure you guys are excited to see it too. So, without wasting any more time, let's go. The cottage planing mill was established in 1884 by George Harrison Gibney on West 3rd Street. A second plant was built on north of East 4th Street on North Spring Street. This industry produced prefabricated houses as well as wooden water pipe, which you'll see in a bit. There are several examples of the cottage house or Gibney house within Everett. The presence of this industry have given excellent examples of wood detailing to buildings in the area. The designs of Mr. Gibney gave rise to a popular style evident in Bedford County in houses built between 1890s and late 1930s. The second cottage planting mill burned around 1920, and a third plant was rebuilt on West 3rd Street of reinforced concrete. This first floor was a machine shop, and it had lathes and all kinds of metalworking equipment, which is now gone, obviously, but yes, it was mostly machine work that went on down here. Now, when have you ever seen wooden pipes? You may have seen them on a documentary. New York City, every city in the country had wood pipes at one time. Some older cities still have wood pipes that were never replaced with steel pipes or concrete pipe, whatever. They're still wooden, and they're upwards of 300 years old in some cases, and they're still there. And it's pretty crazy. And this place built them, so that's a first for me. Also, the wooden pipes, the water pipes that you just saw, were all from the streets surrounding this building, and they were actually dug up from the streets. These are the actual pipes that were used. Now, on this floor, there was also huge bandsaws and huge wood planers. This is where all the moldings were made, and I thought it was really neat to hear that you could bring in a piece of molding and they would replicate it and make it exactly like the piece you brought in. So even if you were out of town or something, and you say you were from Virginia and you wanted to replicate the molding in your house for a house that you're building here, they could do that. This flooring was from an old local bar. If you haven't noticed, all these seats that are around, these are movie seats from the movie theater, which I thought was really neat, considering that I just filmed it last week and I wondered where all the seats were, and this answered my question, and I had no idea that they were here. Now, this was where you would first walk into the building, and they would have all types of examples of wood moldings on display. This was the sales department, and you would walk up to this counter, and this is where you would look through your catalogs or look at other examples of work, and this is where you would do that. At one time, this was actually a craft shop in this room. Notice the ceiling in this place. Those look like wooden planks, but that's all concrete, and that's how they were formed. I'm not exactly sure how they did it, back in 1891 or not, whatever, but it is a work of art to me, because that is just a pure example of hard work. That was before there were machines to do this stuff for you. Every inch of this place served a purpose. Like, there were stations for different things in every area on every floor, whether it be office rooms or whether there are laminate racks, which you'll see the laminate racks for the countertops in a little bit. And there was a place to spray the laminate, and there was a place to assemble things. There was a place to store the wood. There's a place to store the hardware. There's just so much to see that I know it's probably weird, and you might not understand what you're looking at, but every single shelf in this place served a purpose. Being being in a cabinet shop, any cabinet shop that I've ever been in or worked in, it was set up the exact same way. So I kind of knew what I was looking at as I walked through here, but to the average person who isn't into cabinetry or finished carpentry, this would just all look the same, I guess. The third floor had this really beautiful safe on it. Now, I know that you guys see safes in almost every single one of my videos. And like I said in the last one, they're too heavy to move usually. But in this case, there are elevators and they could have moved them. But there are two beautiful safes in this place, this being one of them. And I'm excited for you to see the second one because it's even cooler. At one point, garage doors were fabricated in this floor. Here's another thing that you're not going to see every day. In fact, I've never seen one ever. And I've been to a lot of places, and I also worked in a wood shop for most of my life. So the usual cart that you have in a wood shop, is usually plastic or Rubbermaid with a metal frame and on inflatable wheels inflatable tires and metal wheels. And in the case of this wood shop, this I'm gonna say is original. Like this is very old and it's very well balanced. I kind of pulled it around a little bit and you wouldn't believe how lightweight it is and how easily it moves. There was nothing rattling on it or shaking on it. It was solid as a rock. And it was one of the coolest, I know it's not much, but it's one of the coolest things that I saw here other than the wooden drain pipes, because I saw a lot of things in here that I've never seen before, and that's my goal. That's ultimately what I try to do. So this is definitely one of those things. Safes to me are definitely a work of art. I mean, a lot of time and effort went into making these safes, especially the old ones from the early 1900s. You can't buy one of these this nice manufactured these days. I mean, people handmade these and hand carved them. It's a complete lost art, I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'm sure there's still people out there that are crafting safes and still designing safes, but I'm not aware of any. And here we have the laminate rack. By the way, I have to throw out there that all these railings were made here at the shop, in the machine shop. And you guys know how I am about railings. On the top floor here, at one point in time, there was college furniture that was built here. Check out these old belts. They've probably been hanging in here for 50 years. For a place that has hundreds and hundreds of windows, I'm highly surprised that this isn't a bird graveyard, as most places that I film are. There were hardly any dead pigeons. I came across 1 or 2 dead birds, and I just have to point that out because that's amazing to me. You know, most places that I film, as you know, there's hundreds of dead birds going up the steps on every floor, and this place was pretty clean. So. This sign is priceless. I mean, once it's gone, it's gone. So I know what everyone's thinking. Yeah, I mean, why can't this place be saved? Well, the owner tried very, very hard and had many amazing plans for this place. He had plans drawn up, and everything from retirement apartments to, UPMC was getting involved at one point to run a floor, but everything kind of fell through, and it's a very frustrating situation for the owner. He would love to save it, but for any of you out there that would love to save it and purchase it, you can buy it for about $250,000. So if you didn't know about the Everett Hardwood Lumber Company, well, you do now. Thank you for watching.
Check it out, man. I mean, this merch is like really sick.
Check me out, bro.